4-H, one of the biggest youth organizations in the country. With millions of members and over 100 years of history, it's hard not to wonder where it started. Doing some research, you can find a trace going back over 100 years to Page County, Iowa. This leads us to Jessie Field Shambaugh, nicknamed the Mother of 4-H. Jessie Field was a school teacher at Goldenrod School in 1901. This is where she first started the farm clubs.
When she was a young woman, she was a teacher and she taught at country schools. And then she saw that there was a need to encourage the young people that were that were going to school in the country schools to get more involved in what they did every day in their homes and out in the fields and stuff like that. And she felt like they could improve things, processes that they were already doing at home or out in the field with their, like say with their father was out doing the field work, and that they could make things even better. And so she started a boys' corn club, which encouraged the young men at the country schools to, I think they did all sorts of things. They learned to judge corn, to figure out, and how to make the crops better, and that they would, yield better and things like that. And that corn club, the corn club boys, these were all kids like, high school age or junior high school age kids. And there used to be these expositions, I believe, or competitions where they would go up to Omaha with grown-up men, and they would get judged on their knowledge, and they won, I think, several times over the years against adults because they were so knowledgeable and had learned so many things in the country schools. And then Jessie decided that the girls also, her girl students, needed to be encouraged to learn new processes and stuff. So she started the Girls' Home Club, and that was something they just learned to do all kinds of baking and try different methods in canning food and gardening and just all different kinds of home things that they could use at home to make what they did even better. And then they went home and the students would tell their parents about that kind of stuff. And so it was very innovative what she was doing with them. And then Jessie went on to become she went off to help teach school, I think in Montana with one of her sisters. And then then they called her back, the Page County called her back and wanted her to come back and be the superintendent of schools for Page County, which this was like, I don't know the exact dates, but it was the early 1900s. And, it was a huge deal for her that they wanted a woman to come back and be superintendent of schools. And back then she had to ride a horse from town to town to get to, this is all dirt roads, and the country schools were spread all over Page County out in the country. And so she would go from school to school, and she was the county superintendent. I'm not sure how many years she did that, but during those years, the boys' corn clubs, the clubs went on. The teachers took over. The country school teachers kind of took over these clubs that she had started and continued to implement them in the other country schools in Page County. And so she then, the boys' corn club, I believe this is all correct. I hope I've got my facts right. Won one of those competitions with the corn judging, and they got money, and they won this little car. It was they called a little brush car, and they presented it to Jessie so that she could come and see the students at the different schools, country schools, more often, because it took her so long to go by horse and buggy to get to the different schools. So it was a way different time in our lives, but that was what was so exciting to them, that they got to learn new ways of doing something that they'd always done for many years, and they were better ways a lot of times, and made it more either better yields, or it took less time and it was more efficient and things like that. So it was a very innovative and neat thing that she was doing for these young people.
The Nottoway Valley Museum in Clarinda has several interesting exhibits, including an entire exhibit about Jessie Field. as well as the Goldenrod School that Jessie taught at.
We do have an extensive 4-H display, and we also have on our grounds the Goldenrod School, which is where Jessie first taught at and came up with her idea of starting the youth clubs that later changed to the 4-H clubs in later years on that.
Well, what my understanding is so there was all these little clubs in the schools, and then they started they wanted to have kind of competitions to judge the different things that, say, maybe there was, the county fairs were starting and they wanted to have competitions so the kids could compete against each other and show what they'd learned and stuff like that. And so then my grandmother, she made a pen, a 3H pen, because she thought clover is good for the soil. It puts nitrogen into the soil. So she used that as kind of the center of the pen, or the whole symbol of the pen. And then she had, I think there was a kernel of corn in the center of it. And then the 3H's, I think it was home, I don't know what they were, home, heart, and hands maybe, but I'm not sure what they were. But she designed it, and why she believed growing things was very important to her. Yeah, and her brother was Henry Field, who was real into developing all kinds of new hybrids and things like that for corn and other crops and gardening things, because people back then, you had big gardens, and that's what you canned for your winter to eat. And so she was very into that, and that's one of the reasons she used the clover. And I think the pens were presented. I don't know if it was when the kids would win something, or if each child in the 3H club would get a pen, or I don't know exactly the history on that.
So there was a time, but when county fairs, they weren't all 4-H.
I'm not sure how those developed. I think they kind of I don't know if there was county fairs and then 4-H, or the kids started joining into them, or if they were kind of developed because of the kids wanting to have these competitions and kind of getting to see each other. I'm not sure of the whole history of that. I don't know if it was always that the children were involved, or if they started as more of an adult thing, and then children started with these clubs, started getting more involved in it. That's probably something that people at the History Museum could tell you more about. But that's a good question.
Because 4-H was founded so long ago, it's hard to know whether Jessie Field really did found 4-H, because similar farm clubs were started all across the country around that time period.
And we go back again to when she first started doing the work back in 1901 as a teacher in Goldenrod School, and started that out. And I have not found that lately. Several years ago there was a congressional record that showed and indicated she was the mother of 4-H, and I always go back and say that was before biotechnology, so definitely she was the mother of 4-H on it.
Well, it's a little frustrating for me, because I feel like if you do the math and you go back and see, there's enough, the information is there that shows that she was the one that started these, boys' corn clubs and girls' home clubs, and then it morphed into the 3H movement, or the 3H clubs. She designed the pen for it. So I think if you go back and actually look at the history of it, it does show that she started it.
Whether Jessie Field really did found 4-H or not, her influence on 4-H still earns her the title, the mother of 4-H.
I think it's just quite a legacy that, somebody was able, a woman of that era especially was able to inspire so many people. And she also, I think she was very knowledgeable. I think she knew a lot about plants and growing things and how things work, so she was able to impart some of that knowledge to them also. And that was very helpful. But I'm very proud of her. It's a really neat legacy that she's left.